evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for tuning in to the WBM podcast. This is one of your hosts. It's your boy, Merk.
Hey, you already know who this is. It's your boy, X-Fair.
And this is your boy, Tico in the mix.
In the mix. Tell him, Merk.
Guys, we have an amazing show lined up for you this week. We have some special guests with us, some voice actors that you guys may know from a little show called Eminence and Shadow, and
the executioner and her way of life. Andy Wallace in the show with us today.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We also have Jeremy G from Kaiji joining us with us as well today. Guys, I don't want to wait anymore. We got some exciting new interviews, great questions, and we're going to go over a whole bunch more stuff. You guys ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
Let's get the type.
Hi.
Guys, go ahead and say hi to our guest for us if you don't mind.
What's up? What's up? Hello.
Happy to be here.
Great.
Awesome.
Guys, again, we want to say thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you guys coming on our show with us today. So we can just go ahead and jump right into it. As far as what led you guys to voice acting, when did you guys realize this is a passion and a career that you guys wanted to pursue? Was it always something that you guys wanted to do?
Do you want to go first? Okay. Well, I always knew that I wanted to be an actor since I was younger. And to me, I was always like playing with my voice, whether it was like reading Harry Potter aloud with my sister, just making people laugh with changing up my voice. I had a middle school theater teacher who was like, you're really good with playing with your voice and having fun with it. So it was always in the back of my head about being a voice actor. But yeah, I came through, I'm a theater girl and went theater and film. And then more recently have found my path into voice acting, which I absolutely love. And the anime community just love. Yeah.
I mean, I remember back like watching cartoons as a kid and being like, oh man, how cool would it be to like voice a character in a show like this. At that time, it was probably SpongeBob or something like that. I hadn't got introduced to it.
Classic.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until college that I found it was like an actual thing that I could do. I went to school for musical theater, and I happened to meet Bryson Bogus, Hinata from Haikyuu. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Bryson, I'm name dropping Bryson as one of my good friends real quick. But I met him, and,
All your credit.
yeah, and he mentioned that he was voice acting for anime, and I was like, that's so cool. How do you do that? And then later on, they needed extra guys, and he asked if there's anyone in the theater department that would be interested. And after I did it once, I was like, all right, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
I should also mention Jeremy is the one who introduced me to Sentai and Sentai Filmworks. And so that's, where my relationship with Sentai came in, is that I got to come in and audition because Jeremy was like, yeah, my partner is an actor as well. So they had me come in and audition.
That's crazy, man.
So just real quick, so your evolution from like theater to anime, was it instantaneous or was it like a slow transition as you're like, what is it that I'm getting into?
I mean, we're doing both.
Because right now I'm doing The Turn of the Screw, which is the classic Henry James ghost story, but in a very, very cool modern way with Catastrophic Theater in Houston. And I'm
doing a Play with the Alley Christmas Carol right now. So the transition between, I think after I had been doing it a while, they were like, yeah, some of the best voice actors we hear come from a theater background, because we do learn like voice control for the stage and like projecting and all those sorts of things, like using our voices in different ways. And we're both singers as well. So like we have a pretty voices, I think. So going into the booth, obviously it's intimidating the first time, being like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Figuring out like the technical parts of it. But I think it was fairly smooth, I think. I'm obviously like, even today, still, I've been doing it for a while, but I still just every time I'm in the booth, I learn something else. So it's an ongoing process. I feel like you're never done learning what you're doing.
100%.
Yeah, I would say you're more comfortable on stage than like in the small private room doing voices.
It's like so weird because there's this element where like suddenly it's just like your audience size changes, if that makes sense. So like when we're doing like film acting, suddenly like your audience is like the camera lens, and like you might be like having a one-on-one conversation. And it's an interesting thing where I feel like theater and film really offer up like clearly who your audience is. And anime dubbing is like sometimes you're speaking to a crowd, sometimes you're having an intimate conversation. And because we don't get those scripts in advance, you're making those decisions on the fly. So I do think there is an element of for me, it's always going to be more adrenaline and less maybe comfortable, because you don't know what the next scene as it's like unfolding and like who you're talking to, and that your character might be suddenly in peril, and like you're like, oh god, okay, this is like totally not thing. Yeah.
Another thing is, I think the best part about theater is you do it, and then whoever was in the audience, they saw it, they're gonna forget about it by next week. Not forget about it, but they will remember all the small things maybe you did wrong.
Right.
Whereas once you have that final recording, that final take of whatever line you're saying, it's like, and it's released, it's like, well, it's out there. If it's good.
10 years from now, somebody's gonna come and be like, I loved you in this. Yeah.
What you do in the booth when it's finally recorded, it's like, that's it. That's how that character is going to say that line. It's not, you don't have the ability to change it every night like you do on stage.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys ever like wish that you can go back and redo or redub some of your lines? Like, oh man, I wish I would have got another shot. I wish I could do that again. Or like, do you guys even go back and watch your own work, or you're just so critical that you're like, no, I refuse?
I used to be like so nervous to watch it, but now I think that going back and watching it later is actually like a great tool to know, like, all right, I didn't necessarily love that, or I like what I did, but I could in the future do something different. So I think watching yourself and like listening to your own recordings is a super great tool to improve what you're going to do in the booth next time.
Yeah. And like for I think for both of us, we had a lot of practice hearing like your voice whenever you're training as a singer. So you kind of have to get like over the discomfort. So for me, I had like a surreal out of body experience when I first watched The Executioner and Her Way of Life, but also when I turned on Cartoon Network and I was in Made in Abyss, I was Ma, and like literally hearing my voice on live TV on like a cover, like it was mind blowing. And in that moment, I think any critiques that we have, because we always want to be, and I think you agree with us, like the best at our job and the best actors we can be and show up for our directors and like for our fans, like anything of that show. It's just like it's kind of hard sometimes to be critical because you're getting to live out your dreams, so.
But also there's definitely lines I wish I could read before. Where I am now, and like, I look like if I were to watch like the first couple shows I did, I'd be like, stupid.
I will say like the most fun and the least pressure whenever you come in and do like a day of like miscellaneous and walla and small parts, that is so much easier to be less critical and freer in our voices. And like, I think all voice actors kind of, you're like, okay, like I'll just try this out. And I think it's the roles that you feel more weight, whether it's like the show is bigger or like the fan base is more outspoken, that sometimes you're a little bit harder on yourselves.
Right. So I keep hearing that you guys mentioned that you're singers. Did you guys have like a group that you originally sang with? Did you guys sing in church, or like was it something that you guys did in high school or college? Like when did you guys realize that?
I started just in like church choir, school choir, high school, but I went to Stratford High School right here in Houston. I grew up in Houston, and so our theater program there, is a great program for these wonderful big musical theater shows. So that was a lot of fun, and I studied voice from the time I was 14 to 18 with a really fantastic woman named Julia Laskowski. She's so talented, such an incredible actor as well and singer. And her husband, Mark Laskowski, is actually also a voice actor here. And so for me, it was like something that was always kind of built in, and learning how to feel more comfortable and stronger at it. And then I also went to college for musical theater at the Boston Conservatory.
Oh, nice.
So for me, it was like a kind of just kept on studying. And yeah, now when we get to sing, like we both did cabaret gigs recently or things like that. But if it's not in a musical, we're usually just like singing together. Maybe one day a little show of our own. Who knows?
We are planning one.
Yeah.
Or I have to say planning.
Look at you guys. That's so cute.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Planning was a poor choice of words there. For me, oh man, in high school I went to a real small high school that had a theater department, but it was like no funding, nothing. So like it was a sports school for the most part. And even the sports weren't that good when I was there. So I'm like, wow. But anyway, I did a couple musicals in high school, but like looking back, I'm like, I was not good at singing then. It was just like, I'm doing this because like I was one of the few guys in the theater program. So then I got to college and I started taking voice lessons at Sam Houston State. And it just, I mean, singing is your voice is a muscle like anything else. So worked at it enough where I'd say I'm a fairly decent singer.
He's a fantastic singer. He's downplaying himself.
I get by. And yeah, so like I would say I didn't know I was capable of like singing until college. I went to school for musical theater as well. Yeah, so I do a musical every now and then.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah. You guys are making me rethink majors over here. All right. So I'm super curious though. Like I've seen, because like I've said this once, I'm gonna say it again. I'm an aspiring voice actor. It's something that I want to do. So I watch like random videos on speech, on communication, things that you can do to improve yourself. So with one of these guys that I watch, talks about, if I told you how to work out your bicep, you can tell me a muscle how to do that. But if I told you how to make your voice stronger or your voice better, what techniques could you guys give me? Like, are there any techniques that you guys have learned from singing that have helped benefit you in your voice acting career?
You're actually technical.
I was going to say breath work is so crucial. So whenever I work with...
What is it? Breath work?
Breath work. Yeah. Like where your diaphragm... Yeah. Breath work.
I was like, raft work? Like raft? Like how? Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
We got cut off there a second.
Yeah.
So breath work, because like not only are you keeping your voice safe, and keeping it flexible, but you're also giving yourself the opportunity to be able to feel more confident in your voice. It's like, it sounds so interesting, and you can go down rabbit holes for it, but simply if somebody lays on the floor, if they don't know how to activate their diaphragm, if you lay on the floor, naturally you can't kind of breathe up here.
We all start doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, at one time.
You can't really breathe. Yeah. So you have to, whenever you're like laying down flat, you start to breathe into, we call it like belly breathing. And I think for both of us, it's now kind of an unconscious thing. And a lot of people who've had a chance to train in it. But that to me has been the safest way that I've learned to protect my voice, expand my voice, play with it. Because I think it's, for me, the same as having a good foundation in whatever athletic endeavor you're doing. If you're going to learn how to swim really well, but you don't know how to effectively kick, you are going to be exhausted and hurt your body. And I feel like that's the same for us in the booth, but for us, anything. It's just like knowing how to harness, activate, empower your breath is like chef's kiss. That's what I think is like the most important thing people start to figure out.
And also just when it comes to like the big sounds you have to make, whether it be like big notes singing or if you're in an action anime, having to scream and stuff, finding the right placement.
Yes.
And like knowing, I did a show at like sophomore year of college. It was a musical, and I was like imitating Hulk Hogan basically at this part of the show. And I just like grinded my voice, and then I had to do a solo later. And by like,
That's funny.
So that was the first time I was like, oh, you got to take care of your voice. And then the first couple animes where I had to scream, I would leave just being like, oh no. Mm-hmm. So finding that placement, how to, if you're screaming, scream effectively without just completely destroying your voice is super important as well.
Yeah. In that booth, you can kind of like use your body in a way that people they're not seeing. So you can like effectively make sounds in a way that like planting your feet, bending your knees, squeezing your toes, that creates tension other places that you're not creating it in your vocal cords, is like a fun way to like find that placement. Yeah. Squeeze your butt.
Yeah.
Good question, like, especially on technique and practices. Because I know we talk about anime, but I'm just curious to know, because I know we mentioned like Cartoon Network, early cartoons. If there's any like Western cartoons like The Simpsons or like King of the Hill that like inspires you, is like I'm gonna make a character, based on something from like, that's popular in the States, like a Hank Hill. God dang it, Shinji. Something like that,
Getting the air machine.
God dang it.
In my animation reel,
Oh my
I say in my animation reel, I've got like 50% of it is I pulled from stuff that I've actually been in, and 50% of it was written and recorded, written by Joe Daniels, another voice actor, and one of my very best friends. And then we were recording with Bryson, another one of my really great friends. I was still kind of green to the whole thing. I was like, I don't know what voices I have. And they're like, well, what voice of a character can you do, and just kind of tweak it a little bit. So, I mean, everyone that hears it is like, bro, that's Plankton. So and I'm like, well, it's not, but it basically is.
That might be my favorite.
I mean, that's how I kind of like, whenever people ask like, whoa, how'd you like start? Like what I just remember like with my friends just imitating voices from shows we've watched.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't want to say every character I've ever done is some variation of a character I've heard, but like subconsciously in your head, the voices you use come from somewhere.
That's true. That's true.
Plankton specifically comes to mind because I actually stole that voice for my.
Y'all, his reel is so good, and it has such variety on it. It's so fun. It's so good. I feel like the characters, like any female who's like doing a little boy voice, like it's always going to recall shows that we watched growing up, Western cartoons. So there's always kind of like, whether it is kind of like, any of the Nickelodeon or like Cartoon Network, or like, it could be something from like King of the Hill, it could be Ed, Edd n Eddy, it could be The Simpsons. Like there's always something. So when I'm called in for like a 12-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy, you kind of know what you're going to like pull from your memory. But I recently was doing an audiobook, and the producer and director was like over Skype, and she was like, I don't hate that there's like a Lisa Simpson flavor to this. And I wasn't even aware of it. So I was like, wow, the Simpsons really have like, it's in full inception in all of our brains. But you're the biggest SpongeBob fan I know.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the
me and my buddy Cameron, he's also my roommate, one of my best friends as well. Not to keep dropping all my best friends' names. Me and him probably speaking 50% SpongeBob quotes.
And Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, but that's yeah.
They need to make a SpongeBob anime.
A SpongeBob anime?
Have y'all seen the little clips?
I haven't seen that clip. Dude, they look so good. I'm like, why would I want that?
It's honestly
I feel like Western cartoons for me, besides my brother, tolerated me watching Dragon Ball Z. My older brother,
that's not Western.
Well, no, I'm saying that was my like only like,
Gotcha.
And like when I was younger, it was like he allowed me to watch. Other than that, it really was Western cartoons like influencing, me for all of that growing up. Power Girls, Ed, and Eddy.
All of them.
I
guess
everything.
Got some good new ones coming too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some Western cartoons been hitting pretty good a little bit.
Fairly
I'm still anime guy for sure, but
I love that you guys are dropping some like my favorites. Ed and Eddy, like I haven't heard you guys drop Texas Laboratory, but that was one of my goats. When I was
oh yeah, Billy and Mandy was big for me.
Yes.
Codename Kids Next Door. I watched
Number one.
There you go.
Imaginary Friends. I hit hard.
Yeah, I'm going in hard.
Y'all talking about
Hey Arnold. Yeah.
Well, I could do this all. I could talk about old cartoons all day.
Late 90s, early 2000s was like peak Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, man.
100%.
Let's see. I was curious. So, as far as voice acting is concerned, is there something that you guys struggle with? Obviously, the theater background helps, but has there ever been like a character or a group of characters that you guys have had to do that has been like such a range as far as like the vocal aspects of it or the emotional depth that you guys had to try to connect into that?
Yeah, I feel like mine was early on. Doing it was my second character, Akashi from Haikyuu.
Yeah.
He's so like serious and like chill, and I'm not. So I like to be big, I like to be loud and stuff. So it's doing Akashi, and every time I did it, I was like, well, that was nothing, and then it ended up sounding all right with it. It made sense. That one. What else? What do you got?
Hatsuka, same from Call of the Night. Hatsuka has such a very specific level of power that they don't need to like, she doesn't need to raise her voice. Like she literally has like people under her control. And she also like, and also keeping it very like emotionally neutral. Like it could be like, wow, you know, and like it's hard because it's
Doing the chill characters.
doing it. That's
It's
hard. That's
You're trying to convey so much with just your voice, and if you can't really like use your voice like in an extreme way, like it's hard to just convey that with. So yeah. I feel like the chill characters are much harder to do than the eccentric characters.
That like I know for Hatsuka, Shannon Reed. For me too. Shannon Reed, incredible director at Sentai as well. Obviously, we loved him.
We had him on in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next
time.
All the directors.
Kyle Jones and Joey and Shannon and John are like such a gift to work with as actors. And Shannon was really patient is super patient with us whenever, you know, you're working out a character who you don't really necessarily know how to find the voice for. And that was for Hatsuka's Call of the Night. Like, he really like stuck with me for that. And I feel like the end product was totally worth it. And I love that show. It's such a good show.
Yeah.
See, I love that you mentioned Shannon is because when we spoke to him about some of his directing aspects, he's like, I go into detail. You know, students, tune into next week's episode, guys, to see what we're talking about. But he's like, I give you
the whole background.
Yeah,
the whole story.
Everything. I give you everything for this character. And then John's like, I let them do what they do. I give them a little bit of guidance and we go from there. So I thought it was so interesting to get those two different aspects in directors.
That's
different directors.
So
It's I mean,
I'm glad that they know that that's their style because we know that as actors, right? Like Shannon's like favorite thing is like, because we don't know anything before we like go into the studio for that. Shannon is also a filmmaker. So he has like this like in-depth like convo and description. And Dave's sitting there waiting to audio engineer, you know, he's heard the spiel before. And I think it's like, Swayze like lets us kind of like, there's a lot of just like, I trust that we're going to connect and like, boom.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a great time there.
Yeah.
Every time it's a great time at Sentai.
Yeah.
Nice.
So fun.
Which of your characters are more challenging on your voice?
Let's see. I would say, I know I just mentioned Hatsuka, but something that's in a lower register that's really neutral can be really taxing for long periods of time. But anything where you're, I can't, there's one that I can't, it hasn't been
right there. Wild stuff.
Check it out on Twitter.
But yeah,
or X.
Yeah, or X or whatever it is. But yeah, it's mainly that role that I can't is like was taxing because it was like very fun, super high energy at all times. But yeah, I just did. I was gonna say a couple that were surprising because I wasn't expecting them to be taxing, and they were. And targeting it is usually when it's like a younger role or a different like lower register or things that don't just sit in kind of your natural voice. And
Mhm.
anytime you have to do extreme fight stuff, Menno and Executioner and Way of Life, fully, there's like screaming battles. There's like a yell at the end of that season, which was so fun to conquer, but I did it 3 times only. And then I was like, everybody was like,
Pick
we're
one.
done. Yeah, pick
one
one.
is serious. Yeah.
You're like, that's the depths of my voice and my soul and everything. Yeah.
Mine.
Kaiji.
Yeah, thus far. I mean, I've done. So Kaiji's just screaming all like he's always in peril some way or another.
He yells, man. Like they
Can you?
the best.
Wow.
The best.
Yeah.
I feel the anxiety in this man.
Yeah,
You know?
man.
I love it. It's I mean, what was I going to say? He. But that one it's because it was so long. I mean, we did 26 episodes of it, broken up, of course. But I mean, I've screamed like that before in Alice in Borderland, but it was only 3 episodes and like much less screaming. And then 1 episode of Dororo, I did some screaming. But Kaiji, it was just like.
Oh, and that monologue you have in the first arc.
Oh yeah, we can call it monologue, or we can call it just yelling, cussing for about 2 minutes.
You motherfucker!
Exactly. So yeah, definitely Kaiji for sure.
Yeah.
And just like whatever, like his speaking voice in general, it was real gravelly. And once I had committed to it, I was like, "Well, you're in now. 25 more episodes, so this is where we are." And I mean, he smoked it like he was a chain smoker. So like me and Kyle were like, we talked like it's probably a little gravelly, at least a little bit. So that was a fun, but that was a fun show to work on.
Yeah.
Me, Kyle, and Jonathan, we had a good time recording that because it is so over the top. But it's also, I mean, it's there were so many great acting moments in that. Sometimes we get those animes where, not that there's no acting moments, but it is so action forward or like goofy or silly, but like being able to drop in and be able to act and stuff. That's a lot of fun.
It's a dream.
I feel like in that show, Kaiji, you really have stuff that you could dig into.
Oh yeah. I mean, like because they truly like take simple games, right? Rock paper scissors, walking across a balance beam, playing this e card, and they said, you know what? Let's take the most simple games and heighten them. I mean, to the highest extent of the stakes. Like if you let's walk across a balance beam, but if you fall off, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, the show's in 2008, so I'm just like, here we are.
Oh yeah, no, it's and that arc's released.
It's all out, all first season out. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like you said, a lot of stuff to just be able to dig into and really, really have fun with.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you gonna do season 2? Do you know if they're gonna do season 2?
Don't know, man. He doesn't know. Stay tuned to his Twitter and find out. Maybe you know.
Had to ask.
I'm not allowed to say anything. So
But,
very cool. Very cool. I love that.
I think sometimes fans like don't know that the power that they have with voicing, they really want to see a second season of something. And I know like people say it all the time, but like it matters. Like that's the feedback we as actors hear is they'll say like, we think this might have a season 2 or a season 3 or something. We think this might, but you don't know until
people like it.
Yeah, like truly, that's there's certain things like Eminence and Shadow where we were like we were still recording season 1, and they were like, boom, like we're doing season 2.
Season 2 has been great so far, by the way.
Yeah. Oh man. It's such I'm obsessed with that show. What's a small fun world is Adam Gibbs, who plays Sid, obviously Lord Shadow. I'm in a
show with him.
He's in Christmas Carol, Jeremy, right now. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's our. He comes over. We watch Cowboys games together. Yeah. That's a real good friend. He's fantastic.
We met him at where did we meet him at? Bedrock City Con. And we had mentioned you.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, he's like, Annie Wild's gonna make me dinner.
Not the other one.
Enough.
Yeah, it was such good.
We have Adam over.
He's like, I'm gonna meet Annie later tonight.
Like he came from that.
Well, that's right. He came straight from that. And we watched the crap out of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I got to go to because of Eminence and Shadow Anime Boston with Adam and with Christina Kelly. And it was like the best time with them, and with John Swayze, of course, and with Star, who works over at High Dive AMC. And it was just like such a really incredible experience. But I got to see two actors who have been in this way longer, and who really just like are so seasoned at it, but also were really gracious with fans. Adam is like, he gave a random person a hug who was lost at the convention and helped them find their way. Like, that's like the person, you know, like that's the kind of person. Yeah, we love.
I'll be honest.
No, I have no problem being in the Shadow Garden because Adam's a friend. So if Beta's fangirling Lord Shadow,
I fangirl over Adam
we're
too.
fangirling.
That's funny. You know, speaking to it with Adam, because I'm a civilian. I'm the one that enjoys watching the shows. And asked him, so what do you guys do to get pretty tough the code reading? You know, I was wondering if you guys can expand on that. As like, you guys can explain it to me, like, what do you guys code read? Like, what do you recommend? What's a good go-to that somebody that will listen to it would, take notes?
Yeah,
You know?
I think cold reading, like, I know this sounds like silly, but it's like cold reading out loud a magazine, cold reading out loud.
Anything you're reading, just read it out loud.
And making like kind of the thing of like just making a choice to pick maybe even a character with it can be fun. So if you feel kind of uncomfortable in your voice, just being like, you know what, I'm just going to have fun with this. I'm just going to make a choice. When we mess up, because we're cold reading, stumble on a word or anything, we're like not allowed to say sorry. I mean, we say it or we're like, my bad. But like, they don't care.
Yeah, no, you get to a point where you're reading it. Yeah, fuck, do it again.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like, yeah. So they just.
Can I say bad words here? I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so the cold reading, there are like resources that will be like an acting teacher's guide to it. But I think the main thing with those are usually just tricks of the trade, which is like read a lot, read out loud, stop judging yourself for whatever choice you made in the moment, and also making it enjoyable for yourself. So whatever we read books aloud to each other, just for fun.
It's cute.
It's cute.
And they're so cute as a couple. I'm like, I want that.
That's that goal.
And it's like, it's fun, and it actually helps us with our craft because you have an audience, and you also are like, it doesn't matter in the big scheme if I mess up this word, I'll say it again, I'll redo it. But yeah, if you never hear your voice out loud and you don't practice reading text you've never seen before, it does make it harder. And even like, yeah, reading stuff out loud to friends, it's kind of an antiquated thing, but like, why not? We're on our phones all the time.
We're really selling a book club here.
Yeah, we're selling a book club. Join our.
I told you. Well, you see, I like that because that actually resonates with me because in my play analysis class that I have, we're supposed to read our play. I don't always get a chance to. So in class, the professor calls on you and he's like, "Hey man, go for it. You're this character. You're this character. You're this character." And I'm like, "This is where I get my acting in right now, guys. All right, let's go." And I'll have fun with it. Yeah,
And it should be fun. Like, the director I'm working with right now for this play is like had this kind of moment with us where we were all really intense. We want to do a good job. And he was like, we are not like out there, like in an ambulance saving lives. He was like, yes, art saves lives in so many ways, but like we are allowed to have fun with this and we should. And like,
and fuck up. You're so allowed to fuck up.
Totally.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's the only way to get better.
And anime is incredible. The vast array of anime that you can just like pop over to and just find, like, if those actors aren't having fun, like, I hope they check in with themselves and be like, this is an incredible profession, you know?
I used to, this is a little pocket out of like old dreaming Jeremy, a voice actor. After I had like my first like small part, I was like, I want to do this. So like I would turn on anime and mute it, but have the subtitles on and like read the lines for the characters. Just to practice like that a little bit.
Which is so smart because like also
basically what you're doing in the booth.
Yeah. It's I think a lot of people, I mean, it's, you always are going to hear voice actors tell the truth, which is it's so many moving parts when you're in the booth. It's following timestamp and lip flaps and what's on the text you're cold reading. But largely it is the text, you know, it's like somebody took the time to translate it and a script writer took that time to really write it. And if something doesn't work with timing, they'll fix it or whatever. But honoring what the work has been done by other people is so important. Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, I really like that, man, because that goes back to the age old saying, if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, and for me, it was something like I'm like, it's a pipe dream. You know, you get complimented on your voice. You got a great voice. You ever be radio? I'm like, yeah, sure. Maybe one day we'll see what happens. But, you know, it was something that I really just kind of stepped out on the ledge and I'm like, I think this is something I really want to do, man. And I've been more happier doing this than me trying to do computer science. Nothing against computer science majors. You guys are great. I love apps, but you know, this is something I'm like, wow, this is like, I enjoy learning so much about this. I've never been a play guy my entire life. Now I'm like, man, this play was great. I'm giving these guys synopsis on the plays. I'm like, this is what we learned about in class today, guys. And like,
the thing is, regarding plays, sorry to interrupt you. Getting on stage is the best training you can do. Best training you can do. Like 100%, because you're already because standing in front of people live, that uncomfortability, that's different. So if you're able to get comfortable there, I think the transition into the booth is a little bit easier.
And I'm also really happy that you want to pursue voice acting because I think there's so much space for everybody. There are a zillion million animes. There's so
and
many.
And anime is only this big. And voice acting.
Yes, and like the fact that like commercials and audiobooks and Western cartoons and everything, like I just feel like there's just so much space for everybody, and we need, as a community, we need more voices. But as viewers, like of course it's exciting hearing new voices or it's like a variety of voices in general. You know, that's personally how I feel as a viewer. Of course, it's fun to hear like, oh, I recognize that voice, but it's not something that sells me necessarily on a show. You know, if the show is great, you know, and people are passionate when they're dubbing it or when they're voicing it or whatever, or the audiobook, I'm sold on that. I don't need clout to be invested.
Yeah,
that's what I said. I'm like, I don't care if I make $20 a year, if I make $90 a year. You know, like if it's something that I'm really happy to do, this is something that I would want to do, you know?
Yeah.
So can I ask you guys, Jeremy, you were talking to Jamie, I apologize. Jeremy, yes. Sorry, man, you guys got me all nervous.
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out in post.
We're a couple goofballs.
Well, something I was curious that you had mentioned originally was your first time voice acting, you know, your first gig that you had finally gotten. You're like, I think this is something that I really want to do. Can you guys go back and tell us about your first time doing your auditions? And like, if there was something you can go back and tell yourselves from that age, hey, this is what you need to learn. This is what I would have done differently. This is how you can improve on it. What would those tips be to yourself?
Yeah, I think, hope I'm not wrong. Any Haikyuu fans, if it wasn't 2016, it wasn't 2015. But I did Haikyuu in 2016. Again, I think my character was Yahaba, Abo Josai. What's up, backup setter? We're fine. Anyway, but the thing I tell myself is like, don't be like, obviously like you're going to be nervous, but just go in there. You know, you're capable of doing this. Like you know yourself, you know, you can do it. Don't be embarrassed to show your voice. Don't think like, if I do it wrong, I'll never get called back here again, because what they don't want is someone timid coming in there and giving a small performance. I feel like they'd rather see you go in there, give something that they're like, that was a lot, but you tried, or you gave it something, like, and then like they can refine that. Where if they're having to tell you like, speak up, or like, don't be nervous, like that's a whole lot harder to coach than it is to, you know, take a big performance and point it in the right direction. So yeah, I think just like telling myself like, you're fine. Go in there and do what you know at least think you can do. Is what I would tell young Jerome.
I think mine would be, I love that, by the way, because you gave me that advice on my first audition for Sentai, which was like, don't hold back, don't be afraid, don't judge yourself, go all out. I got called in for a show where I actually don't know if it's like ever been produced or if it was, but it doesn't. So
No,
I was like, oh, I was like, that might be so good. So for me, like, because you gave me that advice, I went in being like, yeah, all guns blazing. I wish I would have asked what CT for closed teeth.
Oh yeah,
no, like CM is closed mouth, OM is open mouth. Those things will be said before, like it'll be like CT angry grunting or whatever, if it's like sound effects. And so you would know this is somebody gritting their teeth maybe in this angry moment. So I was like this unhinged feral actor.
Did forget to tell you that.
So my first audition is like a few characters and it's this massive fight scene. And I am like, I was already so nervous. And again, like trying to hype myself up, like you're already a professional actor. You do this for a living. Like you're okay. But we're like, I'll never not get, nervous for those things or whatever, for auditions or just hyped adrenaline. And I was like feral in the booth, y'all. I was like, I mean, crazy. And Shannon was sitting in on that audition. And thankfully he was sitting in on it because Menno and the Executioner and Her Way of Life is like the first like real thing that I like booked from that. And so he heard that and was like, she's not afraid to be clearly insane.
Was a lead.
But yeah, I think like I think it's something when I like look back on it, I'm like, those are helpful things that are good for actors to know in any situation. But I think anytime we walk into an audition room, I still feel this way for theater, for film, for voice work or whatever. It's more of what I think Jeremy said, which is like trusting that you're enough and telling yourself before you do it, like this thing doesn't say anything about my talent. It doesn't say anything about my passion. It doesn't decide who I am. If this is a worst audition I ever have, it does not mean I'm less of a person or an actor or creative or an artist. It means nothing.
The worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah. I bombed my Wicked audition right out of college so bad. I like got a soft pretzel and cried on the subway on the way home. And like here, it never stopped me from doing what I love. Like you can embarrass yourself so much or feel embarrassed. You're not embarrassing yourself and be totally fine,
Dude, I love that, man. You guys are like, it's y'all really hitting home with me right now. It really is. I'm
Fail
like,
forward.
well, you're right.
And let's talk about the Executioner and Her Way of Life. I mean, how do you love Menno, right? It's such a great character.
Yeah, I wish I should have popped my Menno figurine out.
You talk about Menno,
Okay.
I'll get it.
So this is actually a really cool star again who works for High Dive and AMC and hosts a lot of like panels and premieres and things like that. They noticed that there was an extra figure at Sentai Filmworks of Menno, so I'm the one who luckily got to end up with it. The rest of the office I think was a little mad. But I deeply love her because she is so conflicted while being the best, a prodigy at what she does. And the fact is she's not wrong for having to be an executioner and to be an assassin. But no, you're good. She's not wrong for it. But she's also, it's such a muddy ground. The show, I think about probably like 8 episodes in, you think you know what you're going to see. And the last like 4 or 5 episodes, like kick you in the teeth. Like that's the thing that I hope for people who watch that first season is that they really, oh my God, this is Mano.
Nice. Sick
Also, her little dagger, I think, is in the box, but she usually has a little dagger, but you can see kind of her ponytail. Just she's so cool. Oh, Jeremy has the dagger.
Well, she also has a second
face. She has like an angry face too.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know we have her up on this little shelf protected. But yeah, she's such a cool chick. And the show itself has so many talented voice actors in it. And
oh yeah, you were great as Mendo, but you know who I loved on that show? Momo. She had all these crazy lines going out.
Kat is so good in that show. She's
like all these one-liners.
yes, her character has so many great one-liners, and like at the heart of it, the fact is that she just like, as a little kid, her only safe space was Minnow. They trained together as assassins, and her deep devotion to Minnow comes from this place of "you are home to me." And so like she has all these like hilarious one-liners and feisty things, and talking about going feral, she goes feral on some fight scenes. But she also, like, that relationship that they have, which is at odds with Akari, is just...
I'm biased because I love Annie, but the show's great as well. Like, I was like, hey, I need another season of this. Like, give me...
Hopefully I do a second season, yeah.
Who knows?
Whole concept. And that whole big plot twist that Akari, like, she already turned back time a bunch of times. It's wild.
Yo, it's great. Whenever I learned that, I was like, what?
And I know that the light novels really allow for kind of seeing where it goes. But if people finish season 1, the cliffhanger that you're left on and that last, like the finale episode's so nuts.
Guess you'll have to watch and see, listeners.
Get out on high dive. Let's not forget. You can get high dive for less than 1 cup of coffee.
That's right. John's favorite line.
It's so good. And
that's a good line.
I know when we were at Anime Boston, they had for the Eminence and Shadow Q&A and panel, they had like free high dive for a month. And I know that sometimes they've had Houston influencers give out like a free, month or week or whatever it is. So like maybe y'all as a podcast one day can drop high dive,
Now let's talk about, before we end it, let's talk about Eminence and Shadow, because we love Eminence and Shadow. So we can talk a little bit about Beta.
Beta forever. I am obsessed with Beta. I can't, like, her intelligence, her loyalty, her obviously not like her, alter ego as this author, as a bookworm. I was like, yes.
Don't you guys write some cool stories?
Everyone.
I would absolutely read somebody's version of what Beta wrote in those books. I would buy those or read them on the internet. If somebody was like, this is what Beta is actually writing, I'd be like, yes, I believe you. Sign me up. Like, but I think also it's like to be a part of that Shadow Garden and to be part of such a cool variety of characters who all complement each other. It's so wonderful. I feel like it takes that genre and it's like, we know what we are and we're going to take it up a notch. We're going to take the jokes up a notch. We're going to take the power up a notch. We're going to take, what you think about these characters up. And I think that's what's made Beta stand apart for me, is even when I go into the booth and I think I know who she is, there's a line that surprises me. There's an interaction. There's like, a care or softness or concern for one of the Shadow Garden characters, like that, in season 2, episode 1, when she's reporting, if I can say that she's reporting that like that Delta's missing, and there's like there's true like concern, for.
It's been out for 5 weeks. Catch up, guys.
Get your own subscription on high dive.
Yeah, they are a sisterhood. And, you know, even as other characters in season 2, you know, emerge from like different plot lines and different arcs, I just like hold it the Shadow Garden, like they are this unit that like cannot be touched, you know, and I love that about them.
Beta already had a lot to do in that big fight.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So happy. I was waiting whenever I went into that day, and John was like, "Yeah, Beta's got to fight," and I was like, "Yeah!" Like I was so happy about that. I just because she hasn't had as much action as Alpha and some of the others, so.
I just died.
I know you. I was gonna say it was Rex. He just has this epic. You have like 3 deaths.
I've died 3 times in that show so far.
Keep going.
I'm back.
No, that Rex scene is so good. No, but I mean it is. It's a great fight.
Was. At first, I was like, I don't get why he has a name, and I'm like, oh, it's the guy with the name. So
the only guy with the name.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, I like your character, man.
Still dies in roughly 4 minutes, but
I'm gonna come back.
Hey, they showed him in a flashback in season 2. Technically, you're in season 2 because of that flashback.
That's right, buddy.
Is it in season 2?
Yeah, you haven't gotten to with your. You're so
put
busy.
it on the resume.
Yeah, that Cult of Diablos is no joke.
Yeah, I'm in season 2.
For like 2 seconds, but you're in there.
That's right. It counts on the resume. On the resume.
No one ever actually reads the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just feel excited about, like, is she gonna be in a few more episodes?
You heard that here first.
Yeah, that's gonna be a thing now. Anytime it's like,
hands down. I'm like, that's gonna be a thing now, man. We're gonna make it a thing.
It's I will say with Eminence and Shadow, my hope is that it's just like, let's keep it going. Like, let's keep the momentum and through season 2 and hopefully future seasons of it. I just hope that like the love for it continues, because the joy that voicing Beta has brought me, and also the people I've got to meet because of it at Anime Houston, at Anime Boston, at, you know, people online, like the feedback, like that show means a lot to people in a way that I think it even surprised people who tuned in just for fun, for like, they're like, oh, this seems good or whatever. And that's been really enjoyable. Like to meet y'all and talk about it. Anime Houston, that was such a cool experience. You know, just bringing a little bit of like joy, excitement, or whatever it is to people's life with it. I'm like, bring it on. I will do that show until I'm an old raisin, you know? It might not change. I'll be an old raisin.
The Orlando's still going, so hopefully we get a few more seasons.
Yeah.
Well, are there any projects that you guys can talk about that you can talk about that are coming up in the future that you guys are super excited about?
It's so hard.
We were talking about this right before we got on. We're like, if we had done this maybe like
a month
later, we'd be like, we got this.
You can say there will be stuff on High Dive coming out that you're very excited about.
There's stuff coming. If you follow on Twitter,
to get your High Dive subscription.
I do have not anime related, but I just finished filming a non-SAG. We didn't break any picket lines. We finished doing a feature film that's going to hopefully be somewhere in 2024. It's called A Gettysburg Haunting.
And you're the lead?
I'm one of the leads. Edwin, my buddy. So, and it's a fun little like psychological thriller horror film.
Yeah.
So that hopefully will be coming here. And then a couple of.
And you're in Alley and Christmas Carol.
The Christmas Carol at the Alley Theater in Houston, Texas, right now. And then, there's some anime stuff coming that I wish I could talk about right now, but alas.
Yeah, I know. So I was going to say when it drops, if you want to have us back on to talk about it, if you're not busy.
Absolutely. You heard that here first.
Coming back for part 2.
I'm similar, and there's stuff on High Dive that I'm kind of like, can't talk about yet, but I'm excited. But I will also say, if anybody is Houston based and wants to see Turn of the Screw with Catastrophic Theater,
she's the lead. She's fantastic.
At Match, which is Midtown Arts Center. It runs November 17th to December 9th, and Christmas Carol runs like November 19th to the end of December, I think.
Yes.
But it's a really, really cool. I've never done theater like this before, and it involves elements that I think make it feel fresh, and it's a really cool group of people. And I'm also in a film called The Dancing Monkey, which is in the festival circuit right now, and it's with All the Way Around Productions. So yeah, if that ever gets to be, and I know again we have to be aware of like picket lines and everything like that, but if that it becomes available one day for distribution or streaming, I'll definitely be shouting it out.
We'll be there to watch it whenever it comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's work a lot, right?
Oh, I was going to say
It seems so, doesn't it?
There's an audiobook I'm excited about, but I will let you know and I can talk about it. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. We're looking forward to it.
Are you going to be in any cons in the near future?
We are. We're going to be at Japan House in Houston. So not like a big con, but I know Christina Kelly, John Gramillion, Juliet Simmons are going to be there. December. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So December 10th. We're going to be at Japan House in Houston, Texas, and we're doing signed prints and meeting fans and all that. And any cons for 2024, we're kind of TBD on with schedule, but hope being that we can be there. Yeah.
For sure.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, do you want to go ahead and drop your socials where people can find you at? Get more content from you.
I have to figure out my sweater handle is real quick.
We're going to do it.
My X handle is Annie_in_the_wild. Just WILD. My last name does not have an E. It's just WILD. And then my Instagram. My Instagram is Ann Louise Louise 6. I probably should change it, but that's my Instagram.
Never let go. My Twitter/X is, I think apparently it's just at my name.
I think you changed it.
I think I got it. It's just Jeremy, uppercase Jeremy, uppercase G. And yeah, that's where you find me. I don't post on Instagram very, very much, but I think it's the same thing, just Jeremy G, maybe an underscore. I'm sure if you just look up my name, you might be able to find it in the scrolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're looking for any information on my anime stuff, that Twitter is the place to go.
Yeah, same for me. For X.
Yeah.
That's where we predominantly posted for voice work.
Yep. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you guys. We'll have
Thank
you on for part 2, all right? For part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having us.
Thank you so much.
Guys, this is the WBM podcast. This has been one of your hosts. This is your boy, Merk. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, all at WBM_podcast.
And it's your boy XFed. Shout out to Annie Wild and Jeremy G. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google, Spotify, everywhere you find your podcasts.
And this is your boy Tico in the mix. As always, check out the website, WBMpodcast.com, and send in your topics to our social media.
Guys, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll see you on the next one. We love you guys. Peace.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
Yes, you guys are great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Time flew by.
It really did. I didn't
Time
realize that.
flew by.